On January 3, 2020, the United States came close to having a major war in the Middle East against Iran. Using a drone strike near the Baghdad International Airport, the US assassinated the Iranian Major General Qasem Soleimani of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Soleimani was also the top commander of the Quds force, which has been deemed a terrorist organization by the United States, Canada, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrain. Soleimani was also considered to be the second most powerful person in Iran. Before I give you a breakdown and compare these two militaries, I'm going to give you a brief history explaining why these two nations' hostility towards each other almost reached to the brink of all-out war. On the 11th of February 1979, the world's first Islamic Republic was born. The US-backed Shah Mohammad Reza was overthrown and had to leave Iran on the 17th of January 1979. Soon thereafter, the Iranian monarchy was formally abolished. The exiled Ayatollah Khomeini returned to Iran in triumph. He declared it an Islamic republic and was appointed Iran's political and religious leader for life. During the revolution, 52 American diplomats and citizens were held hostage for 444 days, from November 4, 1979 to January 20, 1981. Because of these events that took place during and after the 1979 revolution, the United States and Iran became bitter adversaries. These occurrences, along with a few other variables that are too much to get into during this video, would sum up the reason why America and Iran share such an adversarial and tense relationship. As of January 2020, the US has already sent 3,000 troops to the Middle East, and likely many more are on the way. According to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and his Secretary of State, Patrick Shanahan, war in Iran is getting more hostile towards the United States and her allies. So this leads us to the main topic. Is the Islamic State of Iran a military threat to America? In this video, we're going to evaluate and see the outcome of these two militaries if they were to clash. We know the US military spends more on their military budget than the rest of the world by far. Sources differ, but it's hard to get the exact spending to the last dollar. The US spending defense budget in 2019 is $686.1 billion. It has also been described as $617 billion for a base budget and another $69 billion for war. You must be wondering, where the heck is all this cash going? Well, you have the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and the Joint Chiefs. If you are wondering, who are the Joint Chiefs? They are the body of senior uniformed leaders in the United States Department of Defense, which advises the President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, the Homeland Security Council, and the National Security Council on the military matters. This way, the American Army's humongous budget is not only allocated to F-16, F-22 Raptors, Bradley tanks, R&D, and the rest of those killer machines. The US military has 2 million soldiers, 1,281,000 active, and about 800,000 reservists. So if you break down the US military budget, $205 billion goes to the Navy, $204.8 billion goes to the Air Force, $191.4 billion goes to the Army, $116.6 billion projects spread across the DoD, $104.3 billion for research and development, $143.1 billion buys new things such as expensive aircrafts and ships. We can't forget the $155.8 billion personal paychecks, $22.5 billion houses for personnel and other military construction, and $292.7 billion for maintenance. If you add this all up, it totals more than the overall budget because some of the spending overlaps. Let's talk about weapons the U.S. Army has in its arsenal. Let's start with airplanes. The U.S. has approximately 13,000 military aircrafts. A U.S. Army armored brigade typically operates around 100 tanks. The Army has 16 armored brigades as part of its total force of 58. The M1A2C is the latest variant of Abrams to enter the production. The United States Navy is a powerhouse. The fleet consists of roughly 432 ships in active service or reserve. The vessels run a gamut from the massive Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, which stretches more than 1,000 feet, to the Los Angeles-class submarines that slither 900 feet below the ocean surface. As of 2017, the U.S. has an estimated 4,018 nuclear weapons in either deployment or storage. Now let's take a look at the Iranian military. We all know that Iran does not even have a quarter of the military budget America has. But as history has proven, time and time again, you don't need to have the state-of-the-art big budget military to win wars. All we have to do is look back at Vietnam and Afghanistan, and many other wars throughout history. The Iranian military force has 523,000 active military personnel, 350,000 reservists, 509 military aircrafts, 54 of which are American-made McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantoms, 250 Russian-made Sukhoi Su-22, 24, and 25, and 23 French-made Dassault Mirage F-1s. Iran is also in the process of building a homemade 5th generation stealth aircraft, the IAIO Qoher 313. A lot of Iran's military fighter jets are aging and are in the need of upgrade. As for tanks, Iran has 1,634 tanks. They also have 2,045 armored fighting vehicles, compared to the 39,223 armored vehicles in the United States military, which for the most part is a lot more modern. The Iranian army also does not have no aircraft carriers. It does have 34 submarines, 6 frigates, and no destroyers. Iran does have S-300 Russian-made air defense and their own Chinese-made air defense. And there you have a basic synopsis of the two militaries, both of which have a lot more weapons, which would take way more time to analyze and evaluate. You can clearly identify that the American military is a lot larger, stronger, and way more advanced than the Iranian military. But one thing you have to remember, America had a hard time fighting in Iraq. Iraq's army was not disciplined and as well armed as the Iranian army. Iraq is a lot smaller country than Iran. The terrain in Iran is a lot more complicated than Iraq, and Iran is a lot more mountainous, making it more difficult to conquer and to hold. If you enjoyed this video and like to hear more like this, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe.